My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. This is a follow-up to a video that I did back on September 17th, 2018, called Conditions Not Conducive. And basically the situation that we had back then in September is we had a lot of sinking air over the Caribbean. And this is creates conditions that are not good for the development of tropical cyclones. This pink area here, on the other hand, is an area where you have rising air. So this season, this area was just churning out super typhoon after super typhoon. Taiwan typically gets several typhoons a year, and Japan and the Philippines, I mean, they get hammered. This area over here, and I don't have the full map because this is actually part of a thumbnail, and I'm just using this for a reference. But this area of the Pacific Ocean is actually referred to as the maritime continent, and that it's a special region of the Earth where, because of the warm sea surface temperatures and the relatively tall volcanic mountaintops, this area of the ocean, of the Pacific Ocean, injects a lot of moist air into the upper atmosphere. So it's an engine that drives global weather, believe it or not, this area of the Pacific. And there's a lot of, you see this pink area here, we have rising air that produced a lot of tropical cyclones. I believe there were 3 Category 4 storms, at least Category 4, going at once in the Pacific recently. Over here in the Atlantic, on the other hand, Leslie has been sort of bobbling around out here in the Atlantic. I'll get to that in a second. But you can see this region here. Now, this was back in September. And I did a couple of follow-up videos on that, and we were waiting for the conditions to sort of change, looking for that paradigm to shift, and I think we're there. And that's what this video is about. I like to watch, I like to keep track of Dr. Michael Ventusky on Twitter and his other social media outlets to see what he has to say. He can be a little technical sometimes, but that's cool. You got Google, just Google it. In any case, he was talking about a couple of weeks ago, last week I believe, the zonal winds were changing from east to west, easterly to westerly, and so that might have some sort of an impact. And he was saying that had made a comment about the maritime continent forcing, the maritime continental forcing was going to shut down sometime around now, the second week in October. So when that happens, considering the fact that this is your probabilistic map here for tropical cyclone development in the western mid-Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico area, this is where you see most of your development in mid-October through November. So this is what happened with Hurricane Florence. Hurricane Florence formed out here and just rode that high pressure right on in, just like coming down the barrel of a gun. And then we go to Tropical Storm Michael, which is going to pretty rapidly turn into a hurricane by 1 a.m. Tuesday, and then it's going to sweep across the Florida Panhandle, come across Georgia, and up through the Carolinas, and then it's going to maintain tropical storm status all the way across. So we should be informed by that prognosis. And this is what else is going on in the Atlantic. As of 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Sunday, October 7, 2018, an area of disturbed weather associated with a tropical wave has formed a few hundred miles south of the Cabo Verde Islands. Conditions appear to be favorable for some development during the next few days as the system moves westward across the tropical Atlantic. Formation chance through the next 48 hours, low 20%. Formation chance through 5 days, low 30%. So it depends on what happens in this zone right here. A lot of tropical cyclones have been blown out, but as I had said before, I'm following Michael Ventusky, and he has said that the zonal winds were changing from easterly to westerly, and that maritime continental forcing was going to shut down sometime in mid-October, sometime in actually the first couple of weeks of October. So what that means for us, for folks living in the eastern half of the United States, is that maybe that paradigm that we've had over the month of September might be changing, as evidenced by the fact that we have this formation of Hurricane Michael. Well, it's Tropical Storm Michael at this point, but it's going to become rapidly a hurricane. And it's going to maintain hurricane strength all the way up until it hits, makes landfall. And it's going to stay a tropical storm as it sweeps over the land, apparently. So if you look at geopotential height, this is 500 hectopascals, which is 500 millibars. And let me just tell you what that is real quick. 1 bar is just about 1 atmosphere. So in other words, atmospheric pressure at sea level is 14 point something pounds per square inch air pressure at sea level, which is about 1 bar. So a millibar is 1,000th of a bar. So they break that atmospheric pressure up into thousandths. So that's what a millibar is. There's 100 pascals to a millibar. And I guess the reason that they use pascals is so that you know you're looking at geopotential height, something having to do with geopotential height, which is an altitude, the altitude of 500 hectopascals or 500 millibars. And the reason that they use altitude, the altitude of a pressure instead of the pressure at an altitude, is because the altitude of a pressure shows you the air mass. When you look at the geopotential height here, kind of zoom in a little bit. So this is about 6,000 meters. This is 500 hectopascals, is all the way up at 6,000 meters. And here, which is where Hurricane Michael, or Tropical Storm Michael at this point, is a little bit less, 5,750 meters. So it's a little bit less. And this is important because denser air just sort of flows downhill. It looks like a bubble. The stratopause gets kind of sort of pushed up and that air flows downhill. Well, as it flows downhill, because of the Coriolis force, it has a tendency to move at right angles. It actually moves along these contours here. So this is the same altitude here. That's what you're looking at. This is the same altitude, this line right here. Here's the jet stream. So there's your jet stream. I like to look at the jet stream because then you also see all those little wind vectors there. And those wind vectors are basically following along those isobars. And, well, yeah, all right. A little curly Q going there. It was just looks like a low pressure kind of deal. Now you look at the sea level pressure, and it's a slightly different picture. But generally it's in agreement. And there's Leslie, and Leslie is going to weaken a little bit and jog over to the east and strengthen, apparently, and then kind of sort of jog that way. So it doesn't really know what it's doing. And there's Michael goes this way, and this is the big picture here. But you see this pocket of low pressure here, and it's probably going to be moving this way, right? And it's just sort of maybe going to conglomerate there as it moves along. You see this like hook here. That high pressure flows clockwise along these isobars, generally speaking. See kind of this light area here. So it's going to move this way. And then, of course, you got Sergio. And Sergio is going to move this way. So there's some interesting stuff going on. That's the storm track for Sergio. Coming across the Baja Peninsula, I guess it is. Probably headed towards Tucson or El Paso, somewhere in there. But it looks to me like it's very plausible that Sergio's going to follow this whole mess right on over. You see this high pressure here. This whole conglomeration, this whole mess is like strengthening and just going to come right over the Carolinas. And they, really praying for the folks in the Carolinas. I mean, it's like they're like in a pinball machine down there. And they don't need any more rain, heavy rain anyway. Because South Carolina, especially, the way the landmass is, whenever they get heavy rain, they don't necessarily see the high water mark during the storm. They'll see it after the storm when that water's all trying to move towards the sea. And so that's when you get your significant flooding a lot of times. And, man, they're just, they're dealing with a lot. And so really, our thoughts are with those folks there. And that's what it looks like. It looks like that Sergio and this mess here, and Michael was going to hook this way and head across the Carolinas, and it makes me wonder if this is all going to sort of meet up. So hurricane season's not over for us. We can have tropical cyclones in December. It's possible. It's been done before. So there you have it. And I'm keeping an eye on this thing here too. This has got a 20% chance of cyclone formation. We'll see. Looks kind of organized there. There's Intellicast, Atlantic Satellite. Yeah, so we still got waves coming off of Africa. So, and your sea surface temperatures are still pretty conducive. 2-meter temperature anomaly. Once we get a cold blast come through, that's usually the death knell for most of your tropical storm development. And as all that mess sort of moves eastward, it's going to for sure pull that colder air down. And then after that, typically, a lot of times, that's usually it. That's usually the last hurrah for tropical cyclones in our particular neck of the woods. And as far as everybody else is concerned, I got to tell you, I wish NOAA's kind of sort of, I don't know, it's a little weird when you're trying to figure out what's going on in the Western Pacific. You have to check with the Japanese meteorological associations to see what's going on in the Western Pacific. Ventusky is pretty good. What I like about Ventusky is that they show you all the cyclones. You can see the whole thing, the whole planet, And in all honesty, I wish NOAA had something. I wish they did that, but they don't. And as far as the Western Pacific is concerned, they're like, whatever. You don't really get a whole lot of data on that. You got to check with Tokyo, and then their graphics and stuff are different, and so yeah. And this thing here, 99A, is that damn near the Persian Gulf, Indian Ocean. Not sure what the track is on that. Anyway, there you have it. Wow, look at that. Some rotation on this thing here. A little bit of rotation down here with this. These were the two X marks for tropical waves. The bottom line is that it appears as though the paradigm may be shifting somewhat. Once these storms, plural, and it looks like it's going to be a conglomeration, Michael, followed by this mess here, followed by maybe Sergio. But after all that, because those storms, the wind wraps around counterclockwise, it will probably pull that cooler air down behind it. And then that will probably give us a break, maybe. You can see all that cooler air. So that's it. My name is R. Crosby Lyles. Y'all take care out there. It never hurts to be prepared. I keep harping on this. I keep banging this drum. Because if you live above the 40th parallel, it's going to come like a thief in the night. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. I love you guys, man. Thanks for all your support. I appreciate it. I'm pretty much... There's a lot of politics going on out there, but it just seems really pointless right now. So I'm sort of like waxing apolitical. You know what I mean? We need to get together more than we need to worry about politics, frankly. So that's where I'm at with that. And that's it. My name is R. Crosby Lyles. Thanks for watching. See you. News from the